Hey VC, I'm trying to make a video. I'd like to make one more frequently, maybe. Maybe more people will notice that I exist. I don't know. Right now, we are listening to something I've been into recently, which is Moog stuff, early electronica. This is a fun title. Everything you always wanted to hear on the Moog, but were afraid to ask for. Some of these have pretty fun covers, I think. Oh, goodness, I'm not good with the whole holding things up to the camera. I cannot be a TV personality. Anyway, sort of fun cover. This is on the Columbia label, the gray 2i Columbia label, I believe. Anyway, this is, who did this? Well, anyway. I'm going to show a bunch of the finds I've been getting lately. I've been going a little bit too crazy. I think the more I follow the YouTube vinyl group and the Reddit vinyl group, the more obsessed I get with, there's vinyl out there. You know, there are good deals on things. I'm missing them. I don't know. I mean, because one of the things that's really frustrating about vinyl is you can find almost anything online if you're willing to pay that much and wait and worry that it might get damaged in a way. But if you're shopping locally, which is what we generally try to do, you have to sort of wait for interesting things to come in. And Austin being a very hip city, good stuff comes in fairly frequently, but it's priced high and it goes out the door pretty quickly too because there's so many people competing for that stuff. Anyway, so like I said, one thing I've been into recently is early electronic stuff. As people were discovering electronic music, often, you know, it seems like classical music was the first area where people were using electronic music because they were just using it as a new instrument to do the same music that had been done for some time. Anyway, for some reason it's hard to find Susie and the Banshees records in Austin. I assume it's because when they come in, they go out the door pretty fast. I'm always been a sort of closeted goth, I guess. So I like Susie and the Banshees. It's really sad the condition you find a lot of records unused. A lot of times in videos or in people's photos, records always look sort of pristine and perfect. I don't know if you can really... God, how do you hold these things up? Sorry, I'm not better at making freaking videos. Anyway, yeah, so it's sort of sad that we're dependent on seeing what random stuff comes in and then whatever condition it's in. And I feel like I don't have the luxury of being able to say, well, I'll wait till I can find a better copy, because you don't know how long that might be. There's a group that I've liked a few songs by from, I believe, this period. The song that I know I really love is called Ups, which is on this record. So I really look forward to listening to this record. Blue Airplane, a British group from the, I think from the sort of the C-86 era or just a little afterwards. This I'm pretty sure is a British import. Here is another one of these early classical electronic records. This is the Well-Tempered Synthesizer by Walter Carlos, who later became Wendy Carlos. Pretty interesting story there. And some really fun stuff. Now this is something I didn't know existed. I saw it in a record store in town and was just sort of staring at the track list, and there were some groups I hadn't heard of. But then I saw there were 3 tracks by Robert Fripp, circa the era of my favorite record of his, which is Let the Power Fall. This has a track called Volo Ergo Sum, Night 1 Urban Landscape, and Night 2 Urban Landscape, which, according to Discogs, these tracks aren't on any of his other records, and it's, you know, Frippatronics from that era, and those tracks sound great. There's some other stuff on here that I'm curious about. I listened to, Needle dropped it in the record store, and some of it sounded intriguing. There's something called P.B. Davies, Essential Bop, and Ekome, and then the Thompson Twins, which of course I've heard of. But it's sort of an interesting, I assume, British compilation. It's supposed to have come with the magazine, but someone has taken out the pages of the magazine from the center. But it's interesting stuff. I need to listen to that. Okay, here's something I've really been getting into, and that's the sort of what are they called? They're called Exotica records, characterized by Martin Denny. Did the first one in 1956. It was recorded, released in 1957. And this is Primitiva, the exotic sounds of Martin Denny. These have really fun covers, usually of beautiful women, often with sort of exotic looking locales, but they're really fun music. It's like a lot of the sort of easy listening music of that era, but it has a little bit more of a atmosphere to it somehow. It's a good party music, I would say. Some of it is like highfalutin background music. I don't know. I like it. Okay, here's something I picked up because it's from a record that I truly love. 1984 by the Eurythmics. And they basically did a soundtrack for the 1984 movie starring Richard Burton and John Hurt, which is a very good movie. Of course, it's a very dark subject. But anyway, this is their song Sex Crime, which when I saw the movie for the first time in the theater at the time, this song played without anything on the screen right before the movie. Has a really neat sound. Anyway, I love that soundtrack. If you like the Eurythmics, well, it's darker than any of their other records because of the subject matter. It doesn't sound like soundtrack music. It sounds like a subdued, very dark and brooding. We're listening to Bolero, by the way, if you couldn't guess, on the Moog. They're famous for a bell piece of music. Anyway, this is a fun 12-inch version of that song from that soundtrack album. Their soundtrack wasn't used, but it's a truly great record. It's, again, quite depressing. This is something I picked up recently, and I was really excited to find it because I see people posting it on the Facebook group, and I've never heard it. This is Water Babies by Miles Davis, and it's a promo copy, which is neat, and yes, it's a white label promo. And the vinyl appears to be in great shape, but unfortunately it's quite warped and will not play on my stereo. So I'm hoping to try a vinyl flattening solution at some point. And again, this is another thing where the cover is horribly damaged. A chunk has been taken out of it somehow. Like, how do these things happen to people's records? I mean, what do you have to do to your records to have something like that happen? Okay, another area of music that I really love is Indian music. On the sitar we have Ravi Shankar, and you have Yehudi Menuhin. I'm really bad at pronunciations. Anyway, they did a series of records together. I believe there are 3 in the series. I have 2 of them now. So it's violin and sitar. Really beautiful. Another Martin Denny record. This is Martin Denny's Exotic Sounds from the Silver Screen. It's a really fun, sort of almost tinfoil reflective cover. Again, the record is the vinyl is not in such great condition. As you see, the record's sliding out of the side where it's not supposed to. This is another sort of fun, interesting thing. I'm always looking for unusual stuff. And this is the big sound of the drags. It's an announcer with sound of cars from drag races. It's an interesting idea for a record. Let's see, another in the Exotica series. This is by someone other than Martin Denny. This came out either the same year or the year after Martin Denny's record. So obviously someone is trying to sort of cash in on what Martin Denny had achieved with great success. This is something I should have listened to before making this video. How to communicate your ideas, which I am obviously not doing very well. Okay, now this is something that, I saw on Craigslist this listing for someone who was selling records out of their house. And I had been out for the day already and saw this and ran and got there as soon as I could, but unfortunately there of course were other people who had beat me to it. This guy was selling a bunch of really interesting records for $4 each out of his house. He had, I think, maybe 300 or so, maybe a little bit more or less. Obviously he had sold a bunch before I got there because I didn't get there till he'd been doing it for over an hour and a half. But I still found some good stuff, and I was looking at the prices on a lot of the records that he had. Like, here's one, the price on it is 99 cents for an Alice Coltrane record. You know, I never see Alice Coltrane records, and when I do, they're always at least 15 bucks, maybe more. This one looks like a later one, as this cover does not look very sort of 60s or 70s influenced. But I'm anxious to hear it. I love John Coltrane. I love his late spacey stuff. Well, that verbiage is used in his titles anyway. So I'm interested to see what she was doing at this time. And again, it was weird to see some of these crazy prices. I picked up a couple of Cult records. Here's one. This is a backup copy now I have of Love by the Cult. The guy paid 25 cents for it. I'm sure at a time when vinyl was not going for anything. I never see this for less than like 10, 12 bucks now. I got this Isaac Hayes live at the Sahara Tahoe. It's a 2 LP set. There's this sort of fold out die cut thing where you see the man himself in chains there. Again, this record is rather beat up, but it's just, I don't know, for me it's mostly about being able to listen to the music. I don't even need it to be pristine. I do like the record to be like maybe a VG plus, but for early jazz and stuff like that, I can't really hope to get that. I'll settle for a VG on those things. And I'll probably play something that's even a G plus if I have to. Picked up this Tangerine Dream double live promo record. Neat sort of cover they did where it looks like it's a sort of picture of a television screen or something like that. Why do I have such a freaking difficulty with this? Okay, this is one. Again, I'm a sucker for special effects. And this, I don't know how well this will translate into the camera here, but this has a sort of lenticular plastic thingamabob on here to add some shininess / depth, which you probably can't really pick up on a two-dimensional device, but this is sort of an interesting collection. And this actually has Hard Day's Night by the Beatles on it. It's a compilation of tracks from Capitol Records from, I don't know if this is 64 or 65. Does it say? Yes, the Great New Sound for 65. I couldn't resist that. This is something I heard a track on the radio, actually. And it's nice to hear actually good music on the radio, but this is in Austin. Buddy Miles, who I recently learned died here in Austin a few years ago. This has a song on it. What was the song that I heard that just blew me away? I think it was Wrap It Up, I believe. And it just really impressed me when I heard it on the radio, and I was like, okay, I'm writing this down. I have another Buddy Miles record, but I wanted to make sure that I was on the lookout for this one, and then I found it fairly quickly thereafter, which I was very happy about. This is something I was excited to get. I've been really trying to get back into my goth past, I guess, and goth / industrial. And I really like some stuff by Front 242. Some of their stuff I find gets a little sort of tired. But my favorite record is their first record, which is real stripped down and more bare sounding almost. And then I like, what was that record called? The one after this, I think. My mind is slipping me. But anyway, this is official version. This has some good tracks on it. Again, this is one of the records I probably would have owned, and I'm just repurchasing. This is a Bartok sonata. I love it when you take something that's like an interesting piece of classical music and then sort of give it a intriguing modern cover. Anyway, sorry I'm not showing labels for people who are interested in labels. This one I'll show something. This is neat because this looks like a Stereolab album, the group Stereolab, but this is what no doubt inspired them to, if not their name, then some of their early graphics, I think. This is a unique stereophonic demonstration disc. Anyway, one of the things that really sealed the deal on me getting this was I really loved those little sort of snowflake star things on the inner sleeve, and then just the plainness of the label for some reason. I don't know. It struck me for some reason. And I love stereo demonstration discs, especially when they're not just random. Sometimes there would be companies would put out, basically they were just samplers of their label and they would call them stereo demonstration records. I think here's somebody I've been meaning to check out because I've heard good things. Tim Hardin. This is Tim Hardin 3 live in concert. So I picked that up. Here's a group that I like, but I can't listen to all the time because it has a sort of a harsh sound that I can't always put myself in the mood for. But this is Eintursende Neubauten. Poof. This record is called 5 on the open-ended Richter scale, which is where they get their name from in a way, because Eintursende Neubauten apparently means collapsing new buildings, and the level of devastation of a earthquake is whatever, and at the top of the end of that is 5, which is the title of this one, 5 on the open-ended Richter scale, and the damage that it equates to is new buildings will collapse. So anyway, sorry for the length of that description, but maybe that'll explain something to somebody. This is a group called the Rachels. This is their first record. Got to see them one time while they were still around here in Austin at a really nice club called the Cactus Cafe. Gosh, my mind is just falling away. Anyway, so really look forward to listening to their first record there. This is a record by Shellac, a la Steve Albini. Not a la, what am I saying? Anyway, Steve Albini is the head leader of this group. And he's always interesting, I think. He's doesn't seem like the happiest guy in the world, but this should be interesting. It's called Terraforming. Here are a couple of records. I had never intended to get into collecting Nancy Sinatra, but here are 2 Nancy Sinatra records I picked up. And the thing that's nice about this is, if I can say, which one is this one? This one's just called Nancy. And this is the one I'm most excited about because this has Some Velvet Mornin' with Lee Hazelwood. And this is the first appearance of that song, supposedly. And that's just an amazing song. If you're not familiar with Some Velvet Morning, different people have done covers of it. This is the original version. And it's just a wonderful, haunting song. There's a video for it on YouTube if you want to check it out. I'm running out of time here, but I think I've gotten most of what I wanted to talk about done. Here, this has Eric Satie's Gymnopédies on it. It's sort of a fun cover, so I thought, I can't resist that. And then a pianist who I love a lot. There's some good documentary stuff out there on him and a movie. This is Glenn Gould. He's a very sort of intriguing pianist from Canada, from the, I want to say 50s, 60s. It's got to be it. He stopped performing because he had very rigorous needs for the environment that he was going to perform in, and he got to where he just couldn't take the concert venue anymore. Similarly to the Beatles, except different. Anyway, but these are 3 records of his work: The Art of the Fugue, Beethoven Piano Sonatas, Opus 10 Complete, and the Mozart Piano Sonatas. And this is a promo copy. Anyway, that's some of what I picked up recently in my obsessive running around town trying to find records after watching and keeping up with the Facebook group. I guess I could order things online and I could keep up more with new groups, but like I'll see like these amazing covers and neat colored vinyl collections by groups and think, oh, that looks awesome, and then I'll play some of them and I'll be like, no, I just can't get into this. I'm not going to buy a $30 record from some group that I don't love. But I mean, there is stuff that I'm finding that's new. One thing I meant to show was I got the new record by a group with a name that I think is rather stupid. They're called Bitchin' Bajas, and I got their new record. And I learned about them from the Facebook group. Someone showed it. I forget who now. Anyway, sorry, I don't know how to communicate things from my head to the camera and make it look good. Peace and music to everyone.